Hi everyone, this is Lolita, and the rest of this video is going to be me completing the tonal chart that we started in class. Tune in and I hope you learned something from it. Thanks. Bye. I'm going to do my value chart down here. So I divided those this little area down here, I just decided to divide it into about 6 equal units, and I've already measured that out here. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's going to allow me to make a 6 value chart where I can start white on one end and black on the other. And I think I'm going to use that for about my mid-tone here. So I'm going to try to see how dark I can get with this fine charcoal. And because it doesn't get real black, the fine charcoal does not. So I'm going in here, and it looks like that's going to be about where I want my number 6, rather 5 to be. And I'm going to have to use my new pastel to get in there and get darker. So I can use both an additive and a reductive process on this. I've got lots of this charcoal, excess charcoal here. So I'm going to just carefully smooth it out into the areas that I want to get darker and completely avoid my lighter area for now. I'm just smudging it across all 3 of those areas and getting them all just a little darker. And I think what I'll also do here is I'm going to get in here and get my light area really light. So this is going to be, this process is an additive and reductive process. So part of the additive process is putting the charcoal down and covering the paper and getting that gray tone in the first place. Part of the reductive process is what you see me doing here with erasing and getting a lighter value by virtue of removing that charcoal that I've already put down. I'm just going to brush this off. I like to use a brush, and I'll be cleaning my studio up later because I have to. If you're not working in a dedicated studio space, when you're working with charcoal, it's a really good idea to put maybe a cover down underneath the floor where you are, so that way you can capture all of the debris that's going to come with charcoal, because charcoal is a very messy medium and you need space where you can make sure you can stay keep that space clean, because otherwise, or that you can easily clean up. And if you can't, you want to take those steps to protect the area you're working in, because you don't want to mess up your carpet. If you've got an area where you can work and it's like a hard floor, that's really ideal with charcoal, is working on a hard surface, because then you can brush all of that off and vacuum it up. So now that I've got my lightest square established, I'm going to go over here and use the pastel, the new pastel that we've got for our class, and I'm going to make I'm going to just darken in this square over here. I want a really nice firm line here, so I'm just going to take that edge and go all the way down. So I'm taking the edge of my pastel and going all the way down the edge where I want the black to be. And I'm going to go ahead and do a nice little outline down here too, so I establish my edges even for just a square, so that way I can work within that boundary of the shape that I'm trying to get. So even if that shape is just a square or a straight edge, you still want to retain that shape. So I'm going in here and really trying to push this down into the paper to get a really nice solid black. And I'm also working with the debris that builds up while I'm working and I'm using the side of the new pastel charcoal, and all of the little excess charcoal that comes off of there, I'm trying to push it back down into the paper while I'm working And I'm trying to push it back down into the paper, even just with pressure from the actual charcoal itself. So using it as a tool to lay the charcoal down and using it as a tool to push it down into the paper as well. So I can get a really nice, rich black going here. So that's looking pretty good, getting that surface covered in there. I want to get it all into here. So I'm going to move my stick around so I have an edge that works for the surface that I'm trying to get at, so it gives me better response with the particular surface that I'm actually doing. So getting in there, getting it all nice and dark. Then I'm going to have my two extremes, and I'm going to be able to moderate between them, and at least that's the way I do it. So I still have this nice dirty cloth that I've been working with, and that's just fine. Pushing this down into the paper a little more, and I get a really nice, rich, satisfying black. And that is part of the additive process. So yeah, I'm really happy with the way that looks. And I'm just going to take what's left over there on my dirty rag and push that into the next block. Try to get it really nice and even, see if I can get an even distribution. Pick up some of that excess. You see that excess chalk there, the excess charcoal, and push that down into there. That's about where the edge of that particular square, or probably just a little bit of a rectangle, tried to make them square-like. And then if it gets down into this area, I'm not going to worry about that. I'll modify that when I do my drawing. So I need to put a little bit more charcoal down, and I'm just going to use some of the willow charcoal because it's not going to go down too dark and get my area too dark. And I know I can use that. And so there, now I've got two of my squares or rectangles filled in, and I'm gonna go back in, and just like I would with a an area within my drawing, because I want a really nice, neat value chart here, I'm gonna go back in and reestablish the edge of that rectangle in there. So I've got two of the values laid down, and I feel that's a pretty decent jump. This one might be a little bit dark, so I'm just going to push a little bit of the charcoal off, push it around a little. Now I'm getting it a little bit uneven. I've got something of a halo glow in there, so I'm going to go back in and adjust that. Okay, I feel that's fairly even. It's still pushing around a little bit unevenly. So I'm going to get in there and try to modify that, pick that up a little so I can keep the, I don't want an uneven area, that shape. I don't want the values uneven in there. I want that consistent value, and it's getting a little too light in here. So I'm going to just go back in and try to really darken that, add a little extra there. See if I can get that pushed down in so I can get rid of that light looking area, get it a little more even toned out. And then maybe get in here and remove a little bit of that there. Push a little bit more down into this area. So again, just trying to even out those tones. Get a little more, add a little more in there. Again, with additive reductive, add a little bit more in there. I don't like that little halo type of effect. That looks a little more even. Push it again, even a little more. Then I'm just going to take that excess charcoal that's on my paper and darken this one up a little more. And again, just staying in those boundaries. You can get some nice precision happening with even just your finger and the paper towel. That looks like I want it just a little darker. I've got a lot more black on here that I can dust down into that. I can also pass over this again just lightly with the vine charcoal. Pull that up just a little and move that around on the surface. And I think I'm happier with that tone. I think I can go still just a little darker. Again, it's going down uneven, so I'm going to try to get it in there and even those tones out. Push that down into the paper. Get that just a little darker, I think. Oh yeah, I'm happy with that. And then I'm going to just go over here and darken this up just a little. Looks like I'm sort of exhausted what's left on my paper towel here. And move that around the surface to darken that up. Even take still some of that dark that's in there. Darken that whole, this rectangle up. Try to get a little, I'm going to go back over here and I've got some excess charcoal just lying around on the edge there. So I'm going to pick some of that up and just go in here and lightly, just softly use a soft amount of pressure just to get it a little darker than it was before. And get a little more even. I think I'm happy with that. And then that leaves me where I do want to just pass this over. These are a little too value, so I'm just going to take this up a little bit in value. If I get it to a little higher than I want, so it gets a little too close to the one next to it, I can, that's going to be okay too, because I'm just going to, uh-oh. So I'll just take my, gonna have to erase that. I'm gonna blend that down in, and I'll just see if I can use that to get the tone that I'm really looking for. So that wasn't really particularly good. Let's see if I can get that line out of there. I'm gonna lift that entirely, and then I'll smudge back down into it and erase out that lightness that way. I think I want to go just a little lighter again. Okay, so that's darker than the square next to it, lighter than the square next to it on the left, and lighter than the square, darker than the square on the right, and lighter than the square on the left. And I think I can be happy with that. It looks a little patchy in here. Lift out some of that patchiness look. And I think I've got myself 6 values that I can work with. So I'm pretty happy with that. Now it's going to be time to start my drawing.